Hello chess friends and welcome to your Out of Chess channel and welcome to a spectacular game that I prepared for you today. Today we see the latest version of Stockfish, the powerful Stockfish 16 battling it out against another top engine Clover in the beautiful King's Indian defense in the so-called Bayonet Attack. And the Bayonet Attack is in my opinion really one of the best methods to destroy, to dismantle, to somehow beat really the King's Indian defense, because it's a direct approach. The immediate move b4 creates already huge tactical opportunities for white on the queen side. So basically in the Bayonet Attack, the issue for black is that black has to defend the position at least for a while on the queen side, and then eventually will get the normal attacks like in the usual King's Indian defense. But as I said, the Bayonet Attack is really a direct approach, forcing many also defensive moves in black's position for sure. So let's see now the game with the white pieces. The Stockfish engine opened with move d4. We have knight to f6 by Clover, we have c4, and after a couple more moves we're reaching the standard position of the King's Indian, where white is having these three mobile pawns in the center of the board, and black is basically trying to break the pawn chain by playing the move e5 or the move c5. The move c5 is more of a Benoni structure. The move e5 is the standard goal of the King's Indian to break and enter here in the center of the board. Bishop to e2 by Stockfish, we have e5 immediately casting. After move knight to c6, we are reaching still the standard line, forcing now a reaction by white. Here Stockfish advances now the pawn to d5, and now after move knight to e7, we are having this blocked out pawn structure. The small pawn chain e4 d5 is showing us here that we should try to attack here the queen side with b4 c5 a4 a5. On the other hand, this small pawn chain also d6 e5 here is showing us here from black's perspective that we're trying to attack the king side with the move f5 g5 h5 if possible. So it becomes now an opposite side attack game for both engines. After move knight to e7 b4, now this is the so-called Bayonet Attack. It's really one of the most aggressive methods that you can play against the King's Indian defense, and it's meeting with the idea that we have talked about now already, that we're trying to attack simply the queen side with an immediate move c5. And this move c5 would disrupt, would dismantle the small pawn chain c7 d6 e5. So we're trying to split the pawn chain and create structural weaknesses here on the queen side. So already a beautiful attacking method here by Stockfish 16. Now there are basically two methods that you can play. You can play first a defensive approach, or you can play a more active approach. You can play the more active approach with the move knight to h5, then trying to occupy the f4 square, or you can play maybe a more defensive approach with the move a5. But this move a5 is usually met with ideas like bishop to a3 after something like, I don't know, a takes b4, bishop to b4. Still, white is very active here, especially because of the opportunity to maybe later play something like a4 a5 and then to play c5, hitting here also the long diagonal. Playable also for both sides. I'm not saying that something is wrong here in black's position, but it's also sometimes very unpleasant to handle this kind of an attack. So that's why knight to h5. Here Clover played the more aggressive approach, I think, here with the idea to play knight to f4, then after e takes f4 to liberate maybe even the long diagonal for the dark square bishop. After move knight to h5, we have rook to e1, preparing, of course, if knight to f4 happens to simply get your bishop to f1, staying with your light square bishop on the board, because in this potentially dynamic positions you could be really you want to have your bishop pair still on the board, where you have of course many attacking opportunities. So f5 by Clover immediately, hitting now as in the common King's Indian, hitting simply the king side, trying of course to create immediate dynamic opportunities. We have a4. Stockfish continues of course on this side of the board. As I said, it becomes now this opposite side attack game. Who is faster on the attack will simply win the game. Now comes again this defensive approach by Clover. a5, trying to disrupt, to dismantle this small attack here that already Stockfish prepared on the queen side. We have now b takes a5, rook to a5, and now after move e takes f5, now already a huge choice by Stockfish 16, forcing now black to react here. And many of us would play maybe here the move e4, liberating the long diagonal now for the dark square bishop and hitting also the knight. But actually this whole concept would be a mistake here, because after move knight to e4 you can take out now the rook, but now after bishop to d2, if you don't want to lose the rook, maybe you're trying something like, I don't know, g takes f5, we play knight to g5, you retreat with the rook. After move queen to a1, I would really not love to play anymore this game from black's perspective. Look at this. So many dark square problems in front of black's king. The knight on g5 will eventually come on e6 even, I think. The knight on h5 is also a little bit loose here. Can be attacked by the light square bishop. So this whole tactics is not working here for black. Although black is up the exchange, but it's, I think, game over already for black. So after move e takes f5, that's white knight to f5 with the preparation to hit the center with the move knight to d4. We have bishop to g5 hitting the queen, knight drops back, and now bishop to d3 also attacking the knight. We have h6 by Clover. We have bishop to d2 indirectly, of course, hitting the rook now on a5. That's why rook to a8, and now a5 by Stockfish. Simply continue the attack on the queen set. As I said, but white is still staying on the same plan, simply a queenside attack. After move a5, g5, we have h3 preventing g4, but g4 anyway by Clover. Really interesting choice. Continuing simply with the attack. As I said, this is an opposite side attack game. You don't lose time, you don't lose precious attacking possibilities. If you don't react, if you don't act here, then you could have huge problems. So with the move g4, also black is trying to continue this attack. H takes g, knight to g4. We have knight to e4, trying now finally to block out the potential e4 move by black. If that happens, we have seen there are some tactical opportunities, although this e4 move has to be really prepared by black. You have to always think about this move twice. If you're doing that, then you have to have a good reason, because this dark square bishop of blacks is not only always a good attacking piece, it's also a good defensive piece in front of black's king. So think twice when you trade it off, because we saw previously, even if you take the exchange, even if you take the rook, then you're vulnerable on dark square. So as I said, now with the move knight to e4, at least for a while, Stockfish 16 prevented the move e4, but as I said, black would have also great problems if you maybe allowed this move e4 for itself. So after move knight to e4, now an interesting choice by Clover, playing the move rook to a7. And first of all, I really didn't know why would black play again with the rook, but actually this move rook to a7 is really an interesting idea. Black is trying to play the move b6, and then after something like a takes b6, c takes b6, to somehow maybe even activate the rook somewhere, maybe on the f file, or even if possible on the g file, maybe activating the rook somehow and hitting the pawn on g2. So it's a really interesting method to also somehow stop white's attack on the queen side. As we said, white is attacking the queen side, but also then counterplay here on the king side. And what should we do? Here Stockfish is trying a nice defensive approach, plays now the move knight to h2. Is not tolerating this annoying knight on g4. Here in the game we have knight to h2, king to h2, we have queen to h4, hitting now the king to g1, and now look at this, knight to d4. We have to say black is here also decent attacking chances, especially now the pawn on f2 is weak, the knight is centralized on d4, this bishop is a little bit blocked out by its own pieces here. This bishop is perfectly fine and supports, of course, the further attack, but so far black has played, I think, also really decent attacking ideas. In the game now, knight to g3, trying to, of course, disconnect now the queen from the square f2 here. We have bishop to g4, hitting the queen to b1, attacking now the h7 square. Notice also how important it was now for Clover to play the move rook to a7, as we said, simply covering the 7th rank and maybe playing defensively here, good around the square b7, but maybe later also actively here by potential moves rook to f7 or rook to g7. In the game, rook from a to a8 played by Clover. Now Clover plays a beautiful trick here, really dirty idea, leaving now the pawn on b7 unprotected. Of course, Stockfish didn't fall for this, but it's very interesting to see what happens if you play now queen takes b7. If you play that, then this idea comes, rook to e8. As we said, we're trying to get the e4 goal. If you allow that, then black has great chances. For instance, you try to block it out with bishop to e4, then you get this one, rook takes f2. Really wild stuff. King to f2, rook to f8, you have to step back, you lose the knight, and then probably you get even checkmated, or you have to lose decisive material in order to defend its position, so it's not working. For instance, if you play rook to e3 in order to somehow to defend this knight on g3, after rook takes f2, we have seen that the knight on g3 is vulnerable. Then, as we said, e4 is coming, and this is game over, I think, here for white. Look at this. You take bishop to e4, then knight to e2. Beautiful, beautiful fork here. You have to play rook to e2, bishop to e2. This rook is hanging on a1. Whatever you do, I think white is losing the game for sure. So very, very Clover produced also very interesting ideas with the move rook to a8. You see, you cannot pick up now the pawn on b7. So that's why Stockfish played the normal bishop to e3, simply improve the position of the minor piece. Now comes e4 anyway. We have bishop to e4. Now rook from a to e8 anyway by Clover. We have seen many dirty ideas here by black also present in the game, but now Stockfish plays the ultimate beautiful move. And maybe you can pause the video and try to see now the best continuation here for white. It's really hard to see, and that's really the difference maybe between top engines and this lower rated top engines, because Stockfish calculates this type of position. Really interesting idea here by Stockfish, but actually it meets with our whole plan that we have talked about in the beginning of this opening. So as I said, try to see now the best continuation here for white. Okay. As said, our basic plan is to attack the queen side. Now Stockfish plays a beautiful c5, sacrificing the pawn temporarily, but now after d takes c5, now comes another pawn sacrifice with the move d6. The problem is now you cannot play c takes d6. This would be a devastating position now for black, because now finally queen takes b7 is working, and now the problem is we have always these possibilities to attack the light squares, and now the pawn on the a file is rolling, and it's supported by 2 pieces, also of course by the rook here on the a file. So with 3 pieces, white is supporting the further progress of the pawn. Black's pieces are simply too far away from the action, so it's game over here for black. So after move d6, that's why c6 was played by Clover, because if you play now queen to b7, notice that the queen is not connected anymore to the bishop on e4, and now there is this tactic, rook takes e4. Stockfish of course didn't play that, but very interesting ideas here for both sides. Rook to e4, knight to e4, and now look at this, knight to f3 would be the winning tactical sequence here for black. After something like, of course, g takes f3, the bishop comes into the game, you get checkmated here for sure. If you play here king to f1, then queen to h1 is happening. Now we pick up this one, it comes also with a check. Again, a devastating position here for white. Very interesting how Stockfish cannot take out this annoying pawn on b7, cannot really further make progress with the a pawn. But Stockfish has a different idea in mind, protects now the square f2 that we have also previously discussed as a vulnerable square. We have seen there were some tactics that were possible for Clover in this particular position. So after rook to a2, we have bishop to c8, rook to c1, hitting now the pawn on c5. We have rook to e5 by Clover, protecting now the pawn, but now Stockfish makes further progress, is still attacking now. The basic goal here is to somehow do something around the square b7. King to h8, we have rook to c4, hitting now the knight, queen to g4, a6, trying to disconnect these pawns. Clover accepts the challenge. We have b takes a6, but now rook to b8, hitting now the bishop here on c8. Queen to e6, we have bishop to d4, c takes d4, rook takes c6, and now very interesting choice. After rook to b5, you have to play it because there are some tensions here around the square c8. We have bishop rook to b5, a takes b5, and now comes the ultimate beautiful winning tactic here by Stockfish. And again, I would really love for you now to pause the video and try to see now the winning idea here for white. White moves and wins the game. Pause the video and try to see now simply the best move of the game so far. Really beautiful, stunning tactic here by Stockfish 16. Okay, the winning idea is here to sacrifice 2 minor pieces for the rook with the move bishop to f5. Really wild stuff, because after move rook to f5, Stockfish takes knight to f5, queen to f5, queen takes f5, bishop to f5, but now this pawn is rolling. You'll have to sacrifice now one of these bishops if you don't want to allow white to promote here on d8. Even if you play, look at this, bishop to e5, this is not working because you get rook to c5. Both bishops are lined up now on the 5th rank. This is not working, so that's why after rook to c7, Clover tried here the move d3, but now after move d7, here bishop to f6, rook to c8, and now after the promotion of the queen in this particular position, Clover resigned. What's the issue? Of course, you can maybe start to push this pawn, but the king is close enough to the action. Also, will eventually attack one of these pawns. When we grab at least one of these pawns, the pawn on b5 or the pawn on d3, this is then a completely winning endgame here for white. Really beautiful game, I think. Unbalanced position with opportunities for both sides. Stockfish finds, of course, brutal, immortal tactical sequences, but this is the way they go. But the Bayonet Attack is really amazing. You see many opportunities are there for both sides, in my opinion. A beautiful chess game played by Stockfish 16 and the Clover engine. So, okay, if you want to see more epic chess games like this, check out our commented chess games played by computer series. Here's the link of our playlist, and if you like this content, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. See you soon with some more videos, and what do we say? Chess is the best, of course.